Hey guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. Gentlemen, welcome. I want to say welcome to part 2. I got the idea. I thought, well, this is the same tube that we did the high voltage test on. I want to prove a point that there's really nothing wrong with this tube. And I thought, what is the next best test that we could do to show robustness of the tube? Now, I did read comments, and I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I did read comments, and I had one gentleman that told me I hadn't proved anything, all I had done was damage a tube. I was like, okay, fair enough. So I heard the 1 or 2 negative comments that I had. We're going to hook this tube up, we're going to put it back in this amp. Now, I put this amp all the way back together the other day after I got done using it on video to vulgarly overly volt 3-500Z Amperex. This is the exact same one that was in the video. We're going to slide that thing in here. And we're going to reach in here and we're going to grab the anode cap and attach it. And I figured what we should do is just put it at its loaded, rated ability, 500 watts, and just let it go. And we'll see how long it lasts. Trying to get into one of my phones so I could set it up as a little stopwatch. Let's see if we can get one of my phones to boot. And we'll set the phone up in frame so we can see how long that we've been on the air or transmitting. We're going to go into the 10,000 watt dummy load so we don't have to worry about overheating that over time. And we're going to put whatever amount of drive we got to put into it to get it up to 80 watt or up to 500 watts of power, tune it out, and just let it go. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and we're going to let it go till either something in the amp gives up the ghost or something on the tube gives up, which I doubt anything on the tube is going to give up. So, gentlemen, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section below. Let's go after it. Pitter patter, let's get after her. Okay, here we go.
I know it would be goodbye, my love. When did the close of forever come, my love? All I recall was a stare that was vacant and cold. Where did the spark go, the warmth that once stole my soul?
Well, in all fairness, let's take this thing out of transmission mode at 1 hour and 10 minutes. We'll take that completely off the foot pedal. I want to be really clear about my setup that I had going on here. I had a big old nasty Rotron fan pumping air past this tube. Final heat results. Let's check this out. So the tube was 300 degrees, and the transformer was no hotter than 127 degrees ever. So, I mean, hats off. I had another little fan blowing air up to keep the radio cool. It was producing the input power that was going to the 4-pill bench amplifier. Hold on a second. So, with this exercise, we proved a couple different things. There's quite a few people that claimed that this tube was absolutely ruined, which is not the case. Let's see here. I don't remember what I was putting into it for drive. We were putting 70 watts into it. That's it. I mean, it speaks volumes about the bench amplifier, by the way. Just did a 70 watt carrier and it maintained it for an hour and 10 minutes. I really wanted to do this test, right? I couldn't let this go out of my mind. I knew that the tube was totally fine, but unless people have visual proof that the tube is absolutely fine, they're going to always have doubt in their mind. I used my Sony little camcorder to do this video because I can put a 256 gig card in there and get 27 hours worth of recording time out of that camera. The plan was to let it go all night long and just let it go and go and go. But the longer I was sitting in there watching TV and just kind of relaxing on this Thanksgiving Eve, because tomorrow is Thanksgiving, I was thinking to myself, and it's 1:48 in the morning, by the way, what point is behind letting it go all night long? This tube was designed to do 500 watts in its full operational state. An hour and a half or hour and 10 minutes is more than enough to prove to the fact that the tube is fine. Now, if I was to continue using it the way I was using it, there would be significant damage to the tube. I had to answer these questions. There is not an amateur radio operator, a CB operator, or anybody that's ever going to purchase this tube that could ever claim that they're not built to the previous Amperex standards now. There's just no way. The first tube would have left a little bit of questions. But now with this second test of showing that if we put less than the actual suggested amount of drive into the tube and have it properly tuned out, the tube's still fully functional and could do its job. Now, let's talk about real world things. That little fan is not enough to actually do a significant job of cooling the amplifier or cooling the tube, or moving, in my opinion, enough air through the cabinet to keep the power supply cool. There's no way. So the way that most amateur operators use it, it's a 30% duty cycle. So, and most people that operate their amps, believe it or not, you're operating in a 30% duty cycle environment. So 100% of the time, 30% of the time that the amplifier is on, you're actually in transmission. And because most people utilize a piece of equipment like this to be operated in sideband, the number's even less than that, because now we're just pulsing the tube with our modulation pulses. So now that drops down to like 10 or 15%. That's the reason that we can get away with a small fan like this. In a continuous operational state like what this tube was just put through, we have to provide significantly more air. Hence the reason I was putting significantly more air across the body of the tube. In the real world, we would have ourselves a completely different socket and a transmitter. We wouldn't use these ceramic sockets, in my opinion, and I'm not any expert on anything by any means. This ceramic socket that's right here was something that the amateur community suggested to have built and was designed for the amateur community. Let's look at Henry, like the Henry 3K, the 2K, the 2KD Plus, the desktop versions, all of those. They have a blower that sits underneath. Now, where they placed that blower was a horrible place to put it. The air goes directly onto the band switch. If the amplifier's ever been in a cigarette smoking environment, that band switch absolutely gets roached out over 15 or 20 years. The contacts get all covered with tar and cigarette jizz, and it destroys them. They could have gone an inch further back or an inch farther forward, and there's plenty of room inside the cabinets for that, especially the floor models, to where the band switch would not be taking the direct punishment. Hence the reason why Henry came out with the plastic guard that went around the band selector. They knew the problem was there. They just weren't really willing to change the design, I guess. At the end of the day, that amplifier with the chimney and pressurized socket enclosures, the air moves vertically over the tube. And with the lip of the chimney being cupped in, I don't have a chimney within arm's reach. With the lip of the chimney being cupped in it forces the air to come around the glass body envelope and then go across the anode. Much more efficient cooling than what we were doing here. Still had to put a ton more air on it because this box and all of its surrounding parts were not designed to operate at 100% duty cycle. They just weren't. The plate transformer was another big concern of mine. This box as it sits is incredibly valuable. Eventually I will restore all of this here. I'll restore all of this here and get it working. The band selector on this has been completely blown apart by the previous owner. This is kind of like a parts amplifier that we were able to acquire a band switch before Ameritron went out of business, MFJ. Have it sitting in a box actually right over there. So I'm going to restore this eventually someday. But I had to be conscious of those things. I had to be conscious of that, right? So all of that in total, we can look at this tube and go, seal of approval. Now, I don't know any amateur amplifier guy out there, or amateur guy that's going to go and do this test. I did it because I thought it would be fun. I don't care. They gave me this tube to destroy, beat up, use, test in any way I see fit to where I can stand behind it and say this is a good product. And in my opinion, this is a great product. I wasn't abusive to the equipment in any way. I took all the things into consideration that somebody would have to take into consideration to do this test, I feel. Now, I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to have something to say about something, and that's fine. I invite those kind of comments. I really do. I will caution you on this. If your motive is to make some kind of comment that is going to be destructive or harmful or in a negative way, the comment's going to be removed because it's not productive for everybody overall. If it's a healthy comment that says, hey, you didn't think about this, or hey, you didn't think about that, those comments will stay. But for the most part, all in all, I covered most of the major things. Significant airflow, protect the actual surrounding equipment, and show the ruggability of the tube. We have beat the ever-living brakes off of this tube. We really have. The first test was for fun, the 9,500 volt, 4,500 watt output. That's for fun. No one would ever, ever, ever do that to the tube intentionally unless you're doing it in a mobile application where you're using it to shoot out, as a driver to drive another piece of equipment, and this is an expendable piece of kit, the tube, right? And even at that, those guys only key 20 something seconds, 20 to 30 seconds, right? So the tube's in operation for 20 to 30 seconds. Do they last very long? No. Do the guys care? No. Is it the way I suggest it should be operated? Absolutely not. That's why it clearly states in the description of the previous video that this is a destructive test, that we're doing this for fun. Do not operate this equipment like this. Please operate the equipment within spec. Today, I am telling you, on the other end of the scale, do not operate your Ameritron this way. Your Ameritron will fail. When you put the lid on the top of this thing, the heat that gets created inside of this deal, the plate transformer would have let go at probably 15 or 20 minutes. The transformer would have been north of 200 degrees. The transformer never got any hotter than a warm summer's day. About 100, like in Arizona, right? 110, 115 degrees. The tube never saw anything, and I was metering the crap out of it for the first 15 or 20 minutes. The tube never got over our 330 degrees in temperature to the glass. Now, is the FLIR the most accurate form of measurement? No. The infrared emitter that comes off of this thing that bounces off whatever you point it at, shiny surfaces, any reflective surface is going to give you a false reading. Glass is the same thing. It screws with the infrared wavelength and it makes the meter read either higher or lower depending on what angle the infrared light that's coming from the emitter, which is directly here, bounces back and gives the information to the pickup sensor. You have to take all that into account. There's temperature activated wax that changes colors that we could have used to perform this test. Was it necessary? I don't feel so. Taking into account this is a transmission tube. It is designed to operate at 500 watts for X amount of hours. Cover that in the data sheet. I don't know that number off the top of my head. We'd have to go look at the paperwork and reference that. So now that you know all the disclaimers that are involved, at the end of the day, we still made 500 watts with this tube for over an hour. No failures. Have we shortened the life of the tube? A little bit. Not on this, not with this test, not at all. The previous test is what would have done any damage whatsoever. But I wanted to come out here, I want to prove the point. That the tube is still very viable. No tubes were actually harmed in the process of this test. I actually saw a comment before I came out here that was posted to the previous video to where the guy says the tube is arcing. The tube never arced. I hate to break it to you. The tuners are what failed. Now let me make sure we're isolated and grounded here, because I want to show you something else. The stock Ameritron tube would have never held up with the the stock Ameritron equipment would have never held up with the punishment that I put upon it, ever. Let me show you why. Let's go in here, we'll grab case ground. Just leave this hooked up for a couple seconds. This air tuner is designed for about maybe in a peak mode operation 2,000 watts. I pointed this out in a previous video. This is a handmade bespoke tuner. These are Johnson air tuners. These are the same tuner. Absolutely the same tuner. This is what happens when you take this tuner completely apart, restack all of the plates, which this was like a 4-hour endeavor to do this, and then restack all the plates and use all the spacers, throw one fin away, just double stack these. This is a single stack fin, that's one of these, okay? Throw one fin away and double plate the intermeshing portion, the portion that intermeshes on the rod. This was a nightmare to take apart, a nightmare to put back together, but I built it just for this specific application to do the test in the previous video. This tuner is a little bit questionable at this point. If we go and we look, we can see here on the fins all the arc erosion that took place. I could have gotten significantly more out of this setup if I was willing to spend more time and put a vacuum variable in its place. A vacuum variable here, probably would have had to gone to a vacuum blocker here, probably would have needed to upgrade the bypass cap at the bottom of the plate choke, definitely would have had to do a hand turn tank coil to get it a little bit closer to resonant frequency, and I probably could have gotten a lot more out of the tube. But what would have been the point? What? To demonstrate to everybody that we can go and get, what, another 2,000 watts out of the same tube when we were already so far over the top it didn't matter. I'm impressed with this Amperex tube. I really am, and I hopefully you guys are as well. The reason we're doing these tests is not to get clicks and not to boast or boost any sales anywhere. It's to help you, the consumer, have insurance inside yourself that you're taking your hard-earned dollars and you're buying something that is worth it. Either it be a CB guy or a ham radio operator, which are the primary movers and the consumers of these tubes. Hopefully, you guys have found these videos interesting, helpful, and allows you to have assurance that the new Penta Amperex tubes are either the same quality or higher than what came before. Does that make sense? I appreciate you guys listening to me monologue. I know half of you guys have tuned out at this point. I say thank you though for the ones that have stayed. Shout out to my Patreon supporters. Shout out to my friends over at Penta who have patiently worked with me. If you guys got any questions about these 3500Z tubes from Amperex, don't hesitate to reach out. I don't care which side of the street you're on. I don't show preference to either side. I'm just here to help everybody evenly and universally the same. In the same breath, it's a bad mamma jamma. If you buy a set of these for your Drake, your Henry, your Ameritron, whatever, they're going to last you until you go on to Jesus. It's a fact. It's just a fact. As long as you're not overly abusive, you don't overdrive them, you don't apply too much plate voltage to them, you give them enough air, you tune them out properly, these will last for almost ever. As far as you're concerned, your lifetime. I think I've proven everything that I can prove. Gentlemen, I say thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. My name is BBI, and without a shadow of a doubt, I'm the biggest mud duck in Idaho. If I was to ever go play on the amateur bands, I would be a force to be reckoned with, which I don't see that happening anytime in the near future for anything, for any reason. Thanks for tuning in. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. If you've enjoyed this video, please tell me. If you've hated it, please tell me. Let's go work it out in the comments section. It all helps with the algorithm, so I don't care. On that note, I'll see you. Click, click.